act on emotions in the heat of the moment?
No, actually, let me tell you something about women and men's brains. We all have something called the orbital frontal cortex that exists in the prefrontal cortex, okay? The orbital frontal cortex controls behavior. It controls impulse. It controls emotions. The woman's orbital frontal cortex is larger than her amygdala, which is where emotions come from. The male's orbital frontal cortex is smaller than the woman's and smaller in relation to his amygdala. Y'all have a chemical called testosterone in your brain that once it rises, it cuts off the orbital frontal cortex's job, which renders y'all impulsive. You're not able to control your anger and your behavior, right? So women are more emotionally expressive. Men are more emotionally reactive. Now,
stop right there. Okay, let's say what this has to do with the emotional pattern of men. Let's say the orbital cortex contains the secondary taste cortex, in which the reward value of taste is represented. It also contains the secondary and tertiary olfactory cortical areas, in which information about the identity and also about the reward value of odors is represented here. All right, the orbital frontal cortex also receives information about sight of objects from the temporal lobe, cortical visual areas, and neurons in it, and it learns to reverse the visual stimulus to which they respond. Okay? Now, if you go down further, I'm just going to go down a little bit further. It says here, this evidence thus shows that the orbital cortex is involved in decoding and representing some primary reinforcements such as taste and touch and learning and reversing association with visual and other stimuli that these primary reinforcers, and in controlling, correcting, reward related and punishment related to behavior and thus in emotion. Okay, she says the orbital frontal cortex, okay, its ability to receive or control behavior and also to the emotions. But she left out a whole bunch of other stuff that the orbital frontal cortex is control of, okay? Like for one thing, our sight, the temporal lobe, has the ability for us to see, taste, smell. Of course, our ability to deal with things and so forth, yeah. But she left those out. If you go back and check out the information I just read and freeze it and just pause it, even though I stumbled over a few words, read it for yourself. The word emotion and that information I just read was in there one time only. But she illuminated it and said that the woman's orbital frontal cortex enigma is larger than the man's. She's basically just degrading the man by saying that we're better than you are. I mean, it's amazing how people, they take certain parts and pieces from information, illuminate it, and use it to justify what they're saying. And that's what she's doing. I mean, look, sister, if you're going to tell the whole thing, tell the whole thing. You know, it's just amazing. Anyway, moving right along.
Now, when I get to talking about science, a lot of people tend to shy away from that. But if we're going to be facts, let's go to the factual things that are indisputable.
Go to the facts.
Men cannot control their emotions. They can't control it. Hence why you have people going to schools, shooting up the schools. You have domestic violence, and you got men literally just killing themselves, right? Women have more control over their emotions. The only thing that differs between you and women is males know more about women than women know about men. Because of this level of ignorance, she's making decisions off of emotion. But if you put this woman in the know, everything changes.
Boy, this only gets better and better and better. You know, like in the beginning when she said that once the testosterone level in the man reaches a certain height, it cuts off the function of his orbital cortex. So basically we have 5 human senses, right? So the orbital cortex controls 3 of those, mainly the seeing, the tasting and the smelling, and also our ability to reason, our reasoning mind. So she says that once it reaches that level, a certain level, it heightens, it cuts off the function of the orbital cortex. Come on, sister. You're not making any sense. And then she said that women have more control over their emotions than men. Well, and men are, you do have some men out there that's emotional, that have these, we call it female energy. And this is the reason why, okay, you know what? I'll let it speak for itself. Okay? I'll let this speak for itself.
I don't think being raised by a woman completely just makes you feminine because you're raised by a woman simply. However, my femininity mainly correlates with because I was raised by my mom. Because I act just like her. And so does all 5 of my other brothers.
72% of the black community in the Western world are raised by single mothers.
Right.
So a lot of these boys are being raised by women.
Mm.
And I find, when I was talking about on the last podcast how a lot of this generation a little bit soft.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they're around female energy, bro. It's because they're being raised by females and they're constantly around feminine energy. They don't know how to control their emotions. They are quick to emotion. But I think a lot of these young generation are feminine, bro. Like they're being raised by that female energy, and so they don't know how to control their emotion.
But you know what? That's so crazy because I sat down to P2 and I was raised by a woman. It's really crazy. I mean, it's easier that way.
Men are being raised by women. When they're not at home, then they're in school being taught and raised by women in a world whereby everything is catered to women, whereby the messaging from the media is don't be toxically masculine. It's okay to cry. It's okay to show your feelings. They're like pushing all this like feminine energy onto men. Men used to be a lot more masculine. They used to be a lot stronger. They used to be a lot more disagreeable.
That female energy. You have a lot of men that are raised in this day and age, have been raised by single parent families, and the ones who are heading those families are females. So they're taking on those female ways, those female emotions. They are actually emanating their mother. That's why you have a lot of these men, not a lot, not all men, but the type of men that she's talking about are those men that have been raised and have that female energy. Not all, but the majority. And that's what she's talking about. But she's trying to put all of the men in one barrel, which is immature.
So you're 37 right now?
Yes.
37. I'm sure you've seen the movie I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
You know what? I have, but I don't even remember it because I was so young.
I'm gonna say one part, where a lady was leaving work and a dude was bugging her, and she flipped out, going crazy on him, and she blamed it on cramps. So they were jokingly talking about a woman becoming president, saying, "Hey, if she's too young, she still gets her period." That moment right before her menstrual cycle starts. It's like, biologically, it's like emotions come from cramps, from frustration of dealing with this biologically. Do you feel that's not real? That will happen like in real life, in a real world scenario? Like
No. I never said that we don't have emotions and things that go on physiologically. We all do. What I'm saying is mind over matter. You all have seen wushu martial artists. You've seen what they can do with their body.
Now she's talking about, you all have seen the wushu martial artists and how they have mind over matter and control. And the man just asked a valid question. He knows that women are basically affected by their menstrual cycle, that time in the month. And also, too, when women get older and they get in menopause, the reaction is basically similar. The only difference between women that get menopause is that they get their private summers, from what they say. I didn't say it. That's what they call it. When they get heated, their body get heated up. So their bodies have a tremendous impact on them. And when that happens, it affects their thinking. It affects it. And I've actually seen it. And I don't care how much women are in the know or how much logic they have. It takes years of practice to do that. Now, some might do it within a matter of time if they're consistent with it. But that takes discipline. And not just in the know, it takes discipline. It takes a lot of discipline and practice in each and every day to become enlightened to the point where you can control your body with your mind. And that goes for men and women. But this young lady right here, she's just like trying to basically put women and belittle men. I don't know if she was hurt or anything in her time. It seemed like that to me, because she's saying that all men look for these docile women and we're trying to just take them over, and we're hunters and this and that and the other, and we just like, you know, take advantage of women. Yeah, I mean, it seems like she's been really, really hurt bad in her life. This is the time when people should come together, the male and female, especially in our community, and to interject something like this and negativity. We don't need any more of that. I mean, she's no different than the brothers out there who be hating on women. You know? So, I mean, this battle has to come to an end sometime, sooner or later. I mean, isn't this getting old? I mean, really?
Men don't want difficult stuff. A lot of them are lazy. They don't like challenges, right? They want it easy. So let's just keep it a buck, because you got these dudes who don't have no social skills. They ain't the most attractive. You don't think that they are jealous of the guy that actually appears to get things easy, right? Everybody like microwave stuff, right? But if you can get your needs met for low cost, who ain't gonna do it? The majority of people will. And I know male nature and what they need. And they need that little thing between these women's legs. And they gonna get it the easiest way they can.